Author Scott Adams stated in a recent video that President Donald Trump has no chance of re-election due to the power of the social media masters of the universe to shut down conservatives. Author and media personality Scott Adams stated in a recent video that he believes that President Trump's chances of winning the 2020 selection cycle have been significantly lowered due to the power that social media has over public discourse. In a YouTube video titled Episode 540, Scott Adams, Slaughtermeter reset to 0 due to social media manipulation, Pelosi, Adams discusses how Silicon Valley tech firms manipulate online discourse and how this can affect real-world elections, citing a recent incident surrounding a video of Nancy Pelosi as an example of this. Adams begins the video stating, "You all know that I've been talking about what I call the slaughter meter. The slaughter meter is a measure of how the election will go and whether President Trump will win by a small slaughter or a large slaughter, and I update it based on current events, so it's not really a prediction, it's more like a moment in time in which the current conditions, if they were to continue until the end, would give you that result." He continues, "But of course, things always change, so it's not a prediction, it's just sort of a if nothing changed this is where you'd end up. I have downgraded the slaughter meter from 140% where I said to myself the competition for the presidency is so weak that I couldn't imagine any situation other than Trump dominating the election. I've reset that to 0, so my current thinking is that the president has no chance of re-election. Now remember, the slaughter meter is if nothing changes, but of course, things will change, so you don't have to worry that this necessarily will be the condition on election day, but the current situation would give him no chance." Adams discussed the issue of online censorship, noting that a number of online conservative personalities have been seemingly censored by many online platforms, including Adams himself. "There is a topic that I can't mention that is removed from YouTube whenever an individual is mentioned in the positive. I can't even say the name of the person because these videos will be removed from the internet. Now I don't have much interest in that actual topic, I don't even have an opinion on it, and I'm not really informed, but it is true that we now live in the world in which a major platform can completely stop a topic, and it's okay. It's okay. It's legal, apparently you can make an entire topic leave the news and it's okay. Now in what world can you ever expect a fair election where the social media people do not put their finger on the thumb? Well, I would say that's pretty unusual. We see people like Dave Rubin being demonetized. I'd say 100 of my videos were demonetized. If I ask the reasons for it, and I haven't, I'm sure there would be some reason that didn't sound very convincing to me, but the things demonetized coincidentally are the same things that would be the most damaging to the Democrats. Might be a coincidence, but I don't know." YouTube apparently removed what they call the doctored videos of Nancy Pelosi seeming to slur her speech, Adams stated. "The argument given is that it's a doctored video. Just think about that. What other videos are doctored to give you an impression that is not exactly what reality is? I don't even have to finish the sentence, right? If that standard holds, and it looks like it will, I don't see any pushback. It looks like YouTube will be able to say we think this video is, wait for it, misleading because of the way it's edited." Now of course in the video there does seem to be some evidence that at least one video of Pelosi apparently slurring her speech was slowed down, but here's the interesting thing. The thing that started this all was probably somebody like Robbie Starbuck mentioning that the actual video, not the one that's edited, but the actual video, the real live unedited video of Pelosi talking about Trump and the infrastructure meeting, sounded like she was drunk. Adams was quick to say that he wasn't accusing Pelosi of being drunk, but that failing to show both the unedited and edited version of the video was extremely misleading for viewers. Adams said, "Now that's an opinion, I'm not saying that it sounded like she was drunk to be, I could easily see that she was old and tired and people slur and it doesn't mean as much as we like to think it does, but it seems as if CNN and other entities are trying to conflate the videos that are doctored with the ones that are not doctored and send the same message. The undoctored ones are just as compelling as the one they claim is doctored. But when they claim it's doctored they don't show the undoctored one at the same time, at least on CNN's website. I understand they may have shown it on the air at one point. But if you say that this one is slowed down and you have access to the real one, because you're in the news, if you're the news you have access to the real video, it's yours. If you don't show the full speed one on the same page as the slowed down one, what are we to make of that?" First Lady Melania Trump jet-setted out of Washington, D.C., for Memorial Day weekend to fly with her husband, President Trump, to Tokyo, Japan in a charming postcard dress. On Friday, Mrs. Trump stepped out of the White House to board Air Force One in an eclectic Americana Italian silk shirt dress by Calvin Klein. This particular shirt dress was from one of Raf Simon's last collections for the brand before announcing his departure. It's the quintessential high-fashion travel ensemble, adorned in an array of postcards with silk so smooth that it blows in the wind as if Mrs. Trump was walking a catwalk in Saint-Tropez. The Calvin Klein was previously available for $3,900. Of course, what is a jet-setter without her Christian Louboutins? Mrs. Trump normally likes to teeter on a pair of pencil-thin stilettos. For her walk across the White House lawn and arrival in Tokyo, though, she chose navy Agnska Christian Louboutin pumps with a wider heel that is described as being similar to the grip of a gun. The stilettos are sculpted with a curve up to the heel and add the sensual seductive style element to this look that Mrs. Trump has become known for. The Louboutins retail for $695. Lastly, Melania Trump threw on a thin brown leather belt and a pair of Saint Laurent turtle shell sunglasses. When in Tokyo, do as the fashion gods, a federal judge in Oakland, California, is blocking a $1 billion portion of President Donald Trump's $8 billion emergency budget for building the border wall. The blocked project used $1 billion allocated by Congress for anti-drug accounts. The preliminary injunction will apply while the judge fully considers the lawsuit filed by the Sierra Club and the Southern Border Communities Coalition, which includes leaders from pro-migration and environmental groups, as well as from the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU. Plaintiffs also have shown a likelihood of success as to their argument that defendants failed to meet the unforeseen military requirement condition for the reprogramming of funds under Section 8005, said the judge, U.S. District Court Judge Haywood Gilliam. The administration's argument that the need for the requested border barrier construction funding was unforeseen cannot logically be squared with the administration's multiple requests for funding for exactly that purpose dating back to at least early 2018, he added. The lawsuit also suggested that another $1.5 million may be blocked because, in part, the court finds that plaintiffs have demonstrated a likelihood of irreparable harm to their members' aesthetic and recreational interests in the areas known as El Paso Sector Project 1 and Yuma Sector Project 1. Pope Francis said Saturday that the medical profession should be committed to defending the sacred value of human life and reject abortion as incompatible with medical practice. In an address to a Vatican-sponsored conference titled Yes to Life, Francis warned against anti-life attitudes that lead to violence against the most vulnerable members of society, the unborn. Unfortunately, in today's reigning culture, fear and hostility towards disability often lead to the choice of abortion, treating it as a means of prevention, the Pope said, and yet human life is always sacred and inviolable. Francis went on to condemn the use of prenatal diagnosis for selective purposes, saying it stems from an inhuman eugenic mentality, which keeps families from accepting, embracing, and loving their weakest children. The pontiff also rejected arguments that being pro-life is a Catholic position that should not be imposed on a secular society. Sometimes we hear, "You Catholics do not accept abortion, it is a matter of your faith," Francis said. It is a pre-religious problem. Faith is not the issue. It is not unrelated, but it is not the issue. This is a human problem. It is a pre-religious problem. Let's not blame faith for something that lies outside its domain. It is a human problem, he said. The Pope went on to suggest that it is enough to answer two questions to get to the bottom of why abortion is always morally evil. First question, is it okay to eliminate a human life to solve a problem? Second question, is it okay to hire a hitman to solve a problem? He said. This is the point. Do not blame religion for something that concerns the human. It is not lawful. Never, ever eliminate a human life or hire a hitman to solve a problem. Every child announced in a woman's womb is a gift, which changes the history of a family, of a father and a mother, of grandparents, and brothers and sisters. And this child needs to be welcomed, loved, and cared for. Always. He said. When a woman discovers that she is expecting a child, a sense of profound mystery immediately fills her, the Pope said. Women who are mothers know this. The awareness of a presence growing inside her pervades her whole being, making her no longer just a woman, but a mother. Moreover, he said, between her and the child an intense cross-dialogue is immediately established, which science calls crosstalk. A real and intense relationship develops between two human beings, who communicate with each other from the first moments of conception to foster mutual adaptation as the child grows and develops. This communicative capacity is not only the woman's, but above all the child's, who in his individuality sends messages to reveal his presence and his needs to the mother, Francis continued. This is how this new human being immediately becomes a son or daughter, moving the woman with all her being to reach out to him. In his address, the Pope also addressed modern developments in perinatal care, which can do wonders to minimize disabilities already from the womb. Children in the mother's womb, if they have pathological conditions, are small patients, Francis said, who can often be treated with pharmacological, surgical, and extraordinary assistance, capable of reducing the terrible gap between diagnostic and therapeutic possibilities, which for years has been one of the causes of abortion and the abandonment of care at the birth of so many children with serious pathologies. It is essential that doctors perceive not only the goal of healing, but the sacred value of human life, whose protection is still the ultimate goal of medical practice, he said. The medical profession is a mission, a vocation to life, and it is important that doctors be aware that they themselves are a gift for the families entrusted to them. Abortion is never the answer that women and families seek, he said. In the case of a sick child, the practical, human and spiritual difficulties are undeniable, but precisely for this reason more incisive pastoral actions are urgent and necessary to support those who receive sick children. That is why it is necessary to create spaces, places, and networks of love to which couples can turn, as well as to devote time to accompanying these families, he said. Pope Francis said Saturday that abortion can never be condoned, even when the fetus is gravely sick or likely to die, and urged doctors and priests to support families to carry such pregnancies to term. Speaking to a Vatican-sponsored anti-abortion conference, Francis said the opposition to abortion isn't a religious issue but a human one. Is it licit to throw away a life to resolve a problem? He asked. Is it licit to hire a hitman to resolve a problem? Francis denounced decisions to abort based on prenatal testing, saying a human being is never incompatible with life. Even those babies destined to die at birth or soon thereafter deserve to receive medical care in the womb, Francis said, adding that their parents need to be supported so they don't feel isolated and afraid. While one can argue about using medical resources this way, there is value to it for the parents, he said. Taking care of these children helps parents to grieve and not only think of it as a loss, but as a step on a path taken together, Francis said. Francis has spoken out strongly against abortion but also has expressed sympathy for women who have had them and made it easier for them to be absolved of the sin of abortion. His comments come as the abortion debate is again